Yes, once more, I'm here. And I want to let you know that God has a son. God has a son because the baby was born. Uh, you can have a child in the mother. The mother carries the child for a number of days, and then she gives birth, and a name is given to the baby. And the name given to God's Son was given by Mary to Jesus. So if you will stop reading John and listen to sensible statements, you will find out what God has done concerning his son that was born as angels rejoiced. Angels were not rejoicing because God had become a man. Angels were not rejoicing because something that created man had become one. Jesus of Nazareth, a man that was crucified, has been raised from the dead. And God has made some promises, and his promises he will keep. Why do you want to go with foolishness when you don't have to? God has determined some things. He determined some things long ago, like that Adam would die if. That's one of the first things that God determined. God determined that himself. And it was God who also determined what? That Noah should build a large boat called an ark and build it according to pattern or by God's instructions. God told Noah himself how to build the ark. And then Noah and the animals got in the ark, and the door was shut. It stayed shut for many days, and it opened. Things happened after that, and God saw Noah sacrifice to eat. Do you know what that's a feast for? That's what a sacrifice is. When Moses told the people to kill this animal and take the blood of that animal and do something with it, what were the instructions to do with the meat? Cook it and eat it. And what was left, to burn it. How did you think, or how do you think that Moses got instructions? Do you know? He got instructions the same way Noah did. Noah was instructed by God on how to build an ark, just like God instructed Moses to tell the people, this is what you do tonight. There's going to be a feast. I don't know what they had been eating, the days prior, but it's now time to kill an animal and cook it and eat it. Now, how many of you know that Jesus went to Jerusalem with his disciples for a meal. Mm. The Passover. The Passover meal. Jesus desired to eat the Passover meal with his disciples. And he did eat it with them. And immediately afterwards, after they had eaten, he went out to pray. And he was arrested there on the mountain. Why do you want to read something as ridiculous as John when you can read other things and come to the knowledge of the truth that's very sensible? That if you believe what Jesus said about his Father in heaven, you would be wise. He even said and taught his disciples how to pray. He did. And he didn't say, look to John to find out. So those people that have kind of, got a little bit excited over John being removed from the equation, I think they should get over it. I really do. Because Jesus didn't tell anybody to go wait in Jerusalem so that they could understand what John said. Mm-mm. I have right here in my hand a very new Bible. You have seen it. It says on the bottom there, Bob the Builder, Joseph the Dreamer, the history book. I have the history book right here. I can turn real easy now to Acts. I can. And I can read what Jesus said was going to happen after he goes into heaven. And his disciples believed him, and they went to Jerusalem and waited. And when the day of Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place. And suddenly a noise like a violent rushing wind came from heaven. I can read. I don't need John. You don't either. And the Holy Spirit came upon and into the people waiting for the promise. That's what happened. And there were Jews residing in Jerusalem. Well, what's new? There should be some Jews in Jerusalem. Shouldn't there? I mean, you would think so. I'm looking in chapter 2. And Peter, after being filled with the Holy Spirit, it says, took his stand and raised his voice and declared to them, men of Judea, and all you who live in Jerusalem, know this and pay attention to my words. He doesn't mention John. We are not drunk, but what has been spoken through the prophet Joel, it shall be in the last days that I will pour out my spirit on all mankind. Now, who is going to pour out upon all mankind? There's only one God in heaven that could perform such a deed.